We have a great show for you this week. Abigail and Rob discuss low blocks, which ones are allowed, and which ones will send a flag flying. Will Nease rebound from the loss to St. Augustine? St. Augustine, they had a doozy of a game at Columbia. Ponte Vedra is looking for payback against Fleming Island for last year's loss. And Creekside and Bartram with 2 games on the docket. All this and more on the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
Alrighty, well listen, Beachside was on a bye week, but that doesn't stop Kuda Mike from talking. So, Kuda Mike, I know you've always got stuff to talk about. Let's start off with something we kind of touched on last week, but I think we should mention it since you're in your closing weeks of registration here for Creeks Flag Football. How much more time do people have to sign up? What are the age groups, and where can they go to sign up for this? Also, anyone looking to officiate, any young man, young woman, where can they all go to get information, sign up, and give us a little gist on what's going on?
Gotcha. I appreciate you having me on this morning to talk about CAA flag football. We have 3 different age groups, 5 to 14 for boys. Girls is 8 to 13. And then we also have 77 for the U12, U14, and U18 division at Plantation Park starting in December. They can go and register at caaflagfootball.org, caaflagfootball.org. This is the last week to October 1st to get the reduced rate. After October 1, it'll go up $50 per registration.
Wow. So there's a lot of incentive to sign up now then. Save yourself
Correct.
$50.
Correct. We have, and if they would like to sign up as a ref, they can go to the website too and go to our officiating. And there's a website they can talk to Brian Bolstein and go from there. We're in about 50 reps signed up already. Wow,
that's great. And Mike, the other thing too that I want to push about this organization, I think is really good, is that, sometimes people, are looking for that fine mixture of, competitiveness and, there's some entry leagues, like I like to say I-9, for example, and there's nothing wrong with I-9, but it's more of an entry league, I think, especially for young kids to see if they like the sport, how it goes. And the thing I like about Creeks is that Creeks has that competitive nature to it. The coaches are really good. I think it's a great opportunity that if you're looking to take that next step and your child's looking to get into the competitive side of flag football, your organization offers that. And I think it's a great way for parents and the kids to say, hey, do I like this? And do I want to go to that next level? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes. We've been around for 36 years. This is our 36th season. So it's one of the largest or longest standing flag football organizations in Northeast Florida.
And not to mention, you got that brand new turf field too. That's really nice.
I know. Thank God for St. Johns County Rec Department. Yeah.
It's pretty.
That new turf. Yeah.
It's pretty. All right. So now let's switch over to the beach side. Football team. You guys had a bye week. You got rested up. And now you're going to have the famous Surf and Turf Bowl this week over at the Reef, where the Toros are going to come visit you. So how do you see this game going? Because, of course, Carter Alvarez is behind center now as Lucas Whitmore is, getting his wrist healed. The Toros, Coach Kevin has them rolling. I mean, they've been up and down, but they've been playing some good football. But then again, I know Beachside also, Eddie Jordan's been on fire. The defense is playing very well. Marco Lanza, Max Hunstead, Drew Watson, everyone. So how's the team been during this bye week, and how do you see them coming into the Surf and Turf Bowl?
The bye week was great. We had injuries, parents. It was great. We had a bunch of tough games prior to early in the season. We needed a break as a team. The Turf and Surf Bowl, you might as well throw out the records. Every year it's been less than 7 points to win the game. Last year we won on a blocked field goal. The year before they scored with 2 minutes to go and took the lead and won the game by 7 2 years ago. And the first year they won by a field goal. So we're 1-2 against them. It's for our 4th year, so it's going to be a battle.
So, Mike, I want to also ask you about this, since you've been around the area so much, especially with Creeks flag football and, around St. Johns County sports and stuff. You said throw out the records. Isn't that one thing that's fun about some of these district games and non-district games, that when these teams get together, you got kids that grew up together, they're going to different high schools, the parents still are friends, they're playing together. It almost seems like every week we're talking about a rivalry, whether it's going to be Nease and Bartram or Beachside and Nease or Beachside and Tecoy, and it goes on Creekside and whoever. That you can pretty much throw out the records because it could be any given night for any one of these teams, with as well as the teams know each other, they grow up together and they have fun, and it just makes for a great environment.
I wish the county would do more of inter squad games throughout the county, instead of traveling out of Orlando up into Jacksonville. There's so much talent in the county. These eight schools should play each other with the preseason, the kickoff classic. They should play each other all year long and make more of a rivalry, more of a revenue for some of these schools. And it's great to play against your buddies you grew up with.
I was actually going to say that because the revenue would then stay in the county. So for example, Nease goes down to Buchholz, and you're talking a 2-hour drive, and we're there in the stands. And it's kind of like there's probably not a whole lot of revenue from the visiting side because there's not many people that can make that 2-hour trip.
Right.
And and with the talent and with the great games you have, you'd be keeping all that revenue here and the schools in St. Johns County.
Correct. Most teams in their district in St. Johns County play 2 out of town. They could play. You have 10 regular season kickoff classic and the spring game. That's 12 games, and you should be able to play everybody at least once during that time frame. That gives you 7 games.
Yeah. So, anyways, but listen, hey, again, what's the website for Creeks Flag Football?
CAAFlagFootball.org.
All right, go sign up now until October 1st. Save yourself $50. It's going to be a great experience for you and your children. I'm telling you right now, all the different leagues and all the different options out there. Go sign up. You will not be disappointed. So, all right, well, Kuda Mike, thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to hear how the Surf and Turf Bowl goes this Friday.
Thanks for having me, Todd. Have a great weekend.
And now switching over to Creekside, I was a little worried that we wouldn't be talking to you, Mike, tonight because I was figuring that you were just having a little bit too much fun after a Creekside victory on Friday night and then your Crimson Tide beating Georgia on Saturday. So I was worried I was not going to be talking to you because you must have had a great Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, well, I expected one of those wins. Really wasn't confident in the other. I'll let you figure out which one. But no, both games were great games, but I was talking to my son this morning about that Alabama Georgia game last night. That was just a football game.
I've got to talk to your wife and see if she can take a picture of your closet. Cause I think between Creekside and being a Bama fan, you just got red in your closet. It's very easy for you during football season. What to wear.
Yeah, it really is. If I could just get the Jags to change their colors, I'd be fine.
You'd be golden, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
So Creekside, they opened up against Sandalwood. Sandalwood's has some problems. We all know that this year, but still a very impressive win for the offense. It's got to be a real big boost for them. Also, they got one more game to go against Atlantic Coast for the district title, 49-18. What did you like and what did you see as far as, on both sides of the ball and special teams for Creekside in this game?
Yeah, I think what we saw is a lot of guys continuing to get better on both sides of the ball. And, we've talked about it week after week now. We've just got a lot of young guys that are playing. And, they're in order for us to do what we want to do and make a run at district in the playoff. We need the guys to get exponentially better every week, and a lot of them are. Overall, clean game, not really many turnovers on Creekside's part, pretty good in the special teams area. Jackson Earl, I think, had a punt return for a touchdown. And, really the only thing with Sandalwood is their quarterback, Sims. He's the real deal. He was like Johnny Manziel back there. We had a hard time getting him wrapped up, and he was the one that pretty much made most of their big plays.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Jarrell Sims. He's a junior over there. Is that a good thing for the defense? I mean, I know he probably gave you fits because he's a heck of an athlete, but going in and, like I said, getting into your district game and then getting ready for playoffs, is it beneficial for this defense to go up against such a good quarterback in Sims?
I think so because, we're going to see some good quarterbacks the rest of the way. And then, of course, if you are fortunate enough to make it to the playoff, everybody has a good quarterback when you get to the playoffs. So I think it does, like I said, and it was just a matter of young guys, particular linebacker in the secondary on defense getting better. And then, we've got all new starters on the offensive line. I think they've really taken that next step. We talked about the competition that they faced, starting off with Bowles, Mandarin, Nease, Spruce Creek. I think every single one of those teams had, FBS, future FBS type talent on their D line. So, going up against that for consecutive weeks, not to say that it gets easy. You never take your opponent for granted, but I think they're finally lining up against guys now, and they're like, all right, this guy's my size. This guy's my speed. I can handle this guy, and they're doing it.
So you're going to play Fleming Island this week at 7:00 at home. Then you're going to host Atlantic Coast for that district finale and hopefully take away that win. Then you roll right into the next week with Rains. Now, here's the question, the final question I wanted to ask you. When I looked at the schedule, you've got Rains and you've got Ponte Vedra. So let's say, you go to Atlantic Coast, you win, you're going to be in the playoffs. It seems like, you kind of like that bye week kind of in the middle, get healthy, but it seems like that bye week, especially after playing Rains, and then you got to go Ponte Vedra and then roll right into the playoffs, that bye week's going to come at the right time.
Yeah, I think so. I know I was talking to, we had my son had a couple of players over last night to watch that Alabama-Georgia game, and I know there's a lot of them that are starting to feel it and got some bumps and bruises that are slowing them down. So I don't think that bye week can get here soon enough. I think the big thing for them though is, it's a two district game schedule for us. We got cleared the one hurdle with Sanderwood, so now it's a matter of taking care of business with the Atlantic Coast in a couple of weeks. But I think the important thing is not to think about that game now, and we got to focus on Fleming Island, because historically, at least last few years, that game has always been an exciting one, always been a close one. I think it was last year we were down 17 points with, I want to say like 8 minutes or so left in the game, and had to recover two onside kicks to finally win that game, and then they had a chance to win it with like 3 seconds left and just fell short. So got to take care of business this week and then start focusing on Atlantic Coast and the possible district championship.
And the good thing is
Friday.
Yeah, and the good thing is you got Fleming Island at the castle. So that'd be great to have them at home. Yeah.
Yep.
So all right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Mike, tonight, and we look forward to catching up with you. Sandalwood again loses to Creekside Knights 49-18. Creekside's 1-0 in district play, and they will take on Fleming Island this Friday night at home at 7:00. Thanks again, Mike.
Hey, take care, Todd. Thanks.
Get ready to huddle up. It's time for Making the Call with Abigail on the Scoreboard Show.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's kick it off.
Hello, everyone. I'm Abigail, and with me, as always, is Rob from the North Florida Officials Association. Rob, fans have asked me that they see offensive linemen block players by going low and nothing is called, but then a few plays later, a chop block is called. What's the difference?
So there are a few different blocks that are low, and there's different levels of legality of those low blocks. So a chop block is always illegal. There is never a scenario where a chop block is legal. But here's where we get into some terminology issues. So terminology and using the right words is actually a very important thing for officials. We use a lot of words that are different than your average fan or your coaches. For instance, we don't use the word lateral. Lateral is not a word that we use. We use the word backward pass because our rules are very specific to specific terminology. So here's another example. Some people call a low block a chop block. That is not correct. A chop block is a block initiated by two players, one going low and one going high. So a player by themselves cannot commit a chop. You have to have two players, one going low, one going high, in any combination. The low can go first, the high can go first, it doesn't matter. But if one block is low and one block is high, that's a chop block. A chop block is never legal. A chop block is always a foul. A block below the waist is something that a lot of people use the term cut block. Again, terminology is important for officials. We don't use the word cut block. We use a block below the waist. There are legal block below the waist, and there are illegal blocks below the waist. A legal block below the waist, one that would not get a foul, would be a block by a lineman on a lineman who are both on the line at the snap. The block occurs in the free blocking zone, and the block occurs immediately following the snap with the initial immediate action. So at the snap, if an offensive lineman does not rock back, does not take a step backward, does not have any backward motion whatsoever, immediately following the snap, if that offensive lineman blocks a lineman across from them low, that is legal. That is not a foul. If that low block occurs in any other situation, then that would be a foul. That would be an illegal block below the waist. Your prime example would be a blitzer that gets past the line, and then your running back goes low and blocks that blitzer below the waist. That would be a foul. That offensive lineman takes a step backward before going low. That's a foul. You have to have, in order for a block below the waist to be legal, it has to be immediate initial action at the snap from a lineman on a lineman. Another low block that's illegal is a clip. A clip would be a low block from behind, not from the front. That is also illegal. All of these blocks are legal if they are against the runner or a player pretending to be the runner. So if you run play action and a blitzer comes in and goes low on the player who was part of that play action, even if they don't have the ball, that's a legal action because the defender has a reasonable expectation to think that that runner actually has the ball. So that's why you would see a foul on some low blocks and not others.
Thank you to everyone who asked the question, and thank you, Rob, for the explanation. Next week, we will talk about how officials are treated and the effect it has on recruiting new officials and retaining the current base. Thank you for listening to Making the Call with Abigail.
And now we're going to check in with Josham James. JJ, I know you guys had the game against Fleming Island, so first let me ask you, how are you doing this week?
Doing great. Big win, a district win for the Sharks, and we're excited about the performance of the team.
Yeah, so here's the first thing I wanted to ask you is we've been talking about how much they've relied on the pass, the Sharks that is, and how much they relied on Cole's arm. And then the last game you kind of talked about the emergence of Alex Winkles, the running back. And when you look at this now, all of a sudden, the Sharks, they finally got the balance, dude. They went 174 yards in the air, 195 yards on the ground, and Alex had 156 yards. So it had to have been a pleasant surprise, not just to get a win against Fleming Island after last year and want to come in and beat them, but also the fact that, hey, we got balance, as Mr. Miyagi would like to say.
You are absolutely correct on that one. From a fan perspective, from watching the game, it was great to see that we're not relying solely on the pass. This is actually 2 consecutive games where Ponte Vedra's had some good rushing stats, and that balanced attack really keeps the offense on the field, which allows that defense to stay fresh, and it's working out well. And that defense, other than one play, which was a broken play where an athlete ran across the entire field and scored a touchdown, other than that one play, that defense was lights out.
So, yeah, and let's talk about the defense real quick. So, Talon's obviously back, and he had 8 solo tackles and 5 assists for, led the team with 13. How did the defense look with him back out there as a field general?
It's unbelievable what a difference one player can make, and that's a testament to his leadership and everything that he brings to that team. Regarding the total defense and everything that's always happens with Ponte Vedra, it's a good defense, always been a solid defense. But last game, they were clicking on all cylinders. I don't think they've had more than 1 sack all season per game, and then this game they had 3, and they were getting after the quarterback, pressuring him, making him look uncomfortable. And that one player, Talon, has a lot to do with it, and it just brings the entire defense up, and the other players rise up with his leadership.
And the last thing I want to talk about this game before we talk about the districts is the fact that also, did the rushing help Cole get more time in the pocket? And the reason I'm asking that is because when I look at the stat line, I noticed that he targeted 6 different receivers. Of course, Jack Burquist was his leading receiver with 3 receptions and 101 yards. But David Doherty he popped in there with 5. He actually led with the total number of receptions and 45 yards, and then it spread around to another 4 players. Are you thinking that Cole's getting more time to see the field and make the decisions with Alex being able to open up the running game?
I think so. With regards to the offense and what Cole Rosendahl is doing, it's well and balanced attack, and he's distributing the ball. He's seeing the field very nicely. His deep ball is pretty, and that's as you just stated, with Jack going deep, they have a great connection. And when they're double teaming him, he's able to look around the field and find others, and they're all stepping up to the plate as well.
Now, talking about district play, and I know there's going to be some Sharks fans that don't like me saying this and hearing it, but let's face the music. I think Beachside is the team that's looking to take the district. When you look at it's all said and done, the way they're playing, of course, course, Ponte Vedra dropped the game to them. But Ponte Vedra still now in this hunt. And this Fleming Island game was one that was kind of like a little check mark saying, okay, how can we, make it in here to the districts? And now you're going to get a week off to prepare for Middleburg. I don't see Orange Park being a problem for Ponte Vedra, but the Middleburg game's big because now you could finish second runner-up in the district and possibly get into the playoffs. So it seems this was a big win for Ponte Vedra.
Yeah, huge win. Middleburg is undefeated, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they are. They are. I mean, when you look at who they played, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they've been putting up some points and stuff like that. But they've been playing like West Side, North Florida Educational Institute, Clay, and Clay. They actually went 28-27. I mean, that was a close game. And then Zephrath Academy, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ridgeview, and then Orange Park. So their schedule has not been really strong, and I don't think they faced a defense like Ponte Vedra right now.
Yeah, and so that's it. So you hit the nail on the head again. It's the type of competition you're playing. You ask Middleburg, they're saying, hey, don't disrespect us. We've won every game. The schedule's the schedule, and they're looking to have a big win against Ponte Vedra at home. So Ponte Vedra's traveling to the Berg, and it'll be fun. I'd love to see what Mason Backus, who transferred away from Nease, does against a good defense like Ponte Vedra. And should be fun and exciting. Of course, I expect Ponte Vedra to pull this one out, but that's why they play the games.
That's right. So Ponte Vedra again, they win over Fleming Island 35-9. Got a little retribution for last year's loss. That was such a great game too. So they come away and they get a win in the district. So they're now 1-1. JJ, thanks again for your coverage of the Ponte Vedra Sharks, and we will talk to you after the Middleburg game, which will be after the bye week on Friday, October 10th.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, now we're going to go check in with Super Mario with the Bartram Bears. Mario, I've got to ask you a question first of all. I don't really know what's going on here. So I'm looking at the Bears schedule, and they score 17 points in their first game, 14 points in their second, 14 points in their third, 14 points in their fourth, and then all of a sudden they go to Orange Park, score 42, and then last night they score 56. What's going on with these Bears?
That's right. You heard it. You heard it. I was there to see it live and in living color. It was probably the best I've seen since our Hall of Fame coach left. That was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I mean, from the opening snap all the way to the end of the game, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, so the Bears end up winning 56-21. I mean, over Tukoi, district win. Okay, we always talk about, you get your records and stuff. What matters is what you do in the district. So now they're up 1-0 in the district.
Yes.
But here's the thing also. Before I get to, I'm going to play a little favoritism because there's a player I want to ask about. But before I get to that, I want to say I'm looking at the stats line. I'm going, okay, I see Peterson, had 100 yards in the air. Colson-Baum had 124, 224 total, not bad. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. 158 for Arthur Lewis. I mean, he averaged almost 16 yards a carry on 10 carries. He must have just cut loose than Mario last night.
I got to give props to the O-line.
I was going to ask about that too. Yeah, I was going to ask how the O-line was playing.
Yes. There's this young kid. He is number 64, right guard, Jake Andreas. He was pulling last night, and he was opening some holes. I mean, from the opening snap. And I just got to say this because the opening play for Bartram went to Mario Jr., who broke open and took it almost to midfield from the -3, from the 3-yard line, took it up past the 40. So, I mean, the O-line, right and left side, plus the center, was I would say tops last night, definitely.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. I was going to ask you about, because here's my little favoritism. Okay, Mario's like one of my kids. I treat him like one of my kids. Love the kid to death. I got to give, but I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this long 40 yards. I'm sitting there going, okay, he lines up as a wide receiver. Was this a jet sweep play that Mario had, or what happened on this play?
Yes, it was like a jet sweep. He came from right side of the formation, going into the jet, and instead of taking it all the way around the left guard tackle, he cut it up right there in the 5-hole and broke it open. And once he did that, he broke it to the outside of the outside linebacker. And I mean, he really took it up the field. The safety broke off from his coverage and came over and made the tackle. First play from on Bartram's side, and it went for some great yardage.
that just set probably the tone for the rest. And what I have to ask also is, looking at Peterson and Baum's numbers, the next thing I did was I went down to see really who was leading in receiving. And what's funny is that while Marucci had 4 receptions for 87 yards, what I found more impressive, Mario, was that it seemed like the quarterbacks were able to spread the ball around, because while there were a lot of, I think, Wendell, I think, had 2. Marucci had 4, and then the rest had 1 catch, but that was among 8 different receivers. So it seems like they were also spreading the ball very well Friday night.
I will say Bartram is a very predictable team, because it's usually 90% run, 10% throw. Last night, it was such a mixture. They were running a 0 on defense.
Mm-hmm.
They ran the cover 0, and literally that quarterback option is second to none. If we run the quarterback option, I think we will probably be in the playoff hunt somewhere. It's just, we're so predictable. Run, 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 run. And when they're stacking the box, there's no way we can do that. So last night, I think they were looking at some old game film.
Mm-hmm.
They ran 0. They actually ran 0 blitz, and all he did was boom, right over the top. And it was like spreading the wealth all the way across. When I tell you, Marucci, we're looking at him and what he did. We look at Wendell. I mean, it was some of the best play calling I've seen at the school probably in the last 2 to 3 years.
That's a good change for you then, huh?
Yes, big time. And that was needed. I think a lot of pressure coming from the parents and things of that nature.
Yep.
Made it where some changes need to be made. And that was a good team that we played against last night that made the game that much better.
And how did the defense react to this? Because obviously if they're off the field more with these drives and the yardage that's being racked up, did they really feed off on this? Because again, Tekoi's been putting up some numbers on offense. So when people look at it, they go, well, you allowed 21 points. I'm like, yeah, but that's been a pretty good offense. I know Lucas Whitmore's out right now. But overall, how do you think the defense did for the Bears?
Well, a couple of players that really stood out last night. One, Michael Minor is a name we will be hearing about on Saturday. He was coming off the D-line, and he was making moves. Several sacks, several breakups, tackles. He was doing such a great job last night on the corner DB, Joel Raggins, several breakups, several pass breakups. It was so telling that they started going to the other side of the field away from Joel. And then last but not least, Liam. I mean, it was so telling. Connor, DeMarco, Liam, those guys totally made a difference last night. And then Jonah Rob. When I say it was a complete defensive game, that's something we haven't had. Got to take my hats off to them.
Well, Mario, congratulations on the win, 56-21 over Tekoi. And now what's interesting about the schedule for the Bartram Bears is that you have the same bye week as your next opponent, which is Nease, which will be on Friday the 10th of October. So now the Bears get to rest up just like Nease does, who they dropped their game to Buchholz. So they'll be meeting up in a district playoff district game which will be meaningful for the playoffs. And that should be an interesting game as they will meet up over at Nease. So thanks again, and we will talk to you in a couple weeks to see how the Bears fared against the Panthers.
All right, Todd. Thank you so much for having me on, and go Bears.
Well, that was Super Mario from the Bartram side of the field. Now we're going to flip over and welcome back Billy the Bull to see how things were on the Tekoi side, even though they lost. But hey, Billy, first of all, I got to ask you, did you and the family have a great time up in Cincinnati?
Oh, it was. It was a really good experience. It's a little perk of with my wife's company that she works for that's up there at headquarters is up there. So it was cool. We got to go to the University of Cincinnati game out on the field, meet all the coaches, and then we got to move over to the Bengals Jags game. Didn't work out the way we wanted, but it was a blast.
How is the Bengals Stadium, real quick? Is it nice? I've never even seen it. I've only seen it on TV.
It's fantastic. I love the orange. I love the uniforms.
I like their ice ones personally. I think those white ones look pretty sharp.
They are, and it's such a good environment right there on the water. You've got the Red Stadium there too. It's cool. It's a cool spot.
That's awesome. So now we transition. I know you guys are on the losing side of things here, but this is also, kind of a unique spot for Tekoi because, as we kind of discussed, Lucas Whitmore, unfortunately, is out with an injury. Hopefully he'll be back before the end of the season. So Carter Alvarez is behind center. Has this kind of changed, maybe, in your opinion, how the offense is rolling with Lucas out and Carter in there? Has Coach Kevin had to kind of adjust a little bit of what his offensive scheme has been?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, losing Lucas Whitworth, the senior, and having that senior leadership, and he was really playing well, like coming into his own. So it is, but you've got to be ready for the next man up, and we've got to get creative on the offensive end, and I expect Coach Dolan to get creative. I could see with Carter Alvarez back there because he's very athletic. Running some options, the Wildcat, triple option, just do it, spreading them out so we got more space. I could see us getting creative in that manner because I think we're going to have to because both of our lines, they showed weaknesses in us, and those are things that we've got to clean up as well. So we'll see what we do this week, and it's going to be a big one. It's the surf and turf.
No, yeah, and real quick, I want to ask you also from your sideline. Watching the Bartram's been struggling this year, and as Mario said just before you came on, he said this was the most complete game he's seen in a long time from the Bears. And did you kind of get that impression too from all three facets for them that they played a good game?
I did. We came down. I mean, it's their homecoming night, so they were pumped up. So we actually went out on a lead with 7-0. Carter had a pass to Brian Baker for a touchdown, and then we kept it close. Every time we get it close, they'd have a big play. Arthur Lewis. I mean, when they came in here with us as a 1-3 team, that's not a 1-3 team.
Gotcha.
That team's getting better every week. The lines were aggressive. They were tough. They put pressure on Carter Alvarez. He was running for his life basically all night. And Carter's an athlete, and he made some big plays as well. But that Bartram team is going to be good. I mean, we needed that. That was our first district game, and that was to me as a must win. But congrats to them on it. But they did look good. That was a complete game from them, and the big plays. And Arthur had a kickoff return as well for a touchdown. So we would crawl back in it, and I'm like, oh, we've got plenty of time here. Let's get some stops, get some movement going on the offense, and we can climb back in this, and then we'd just be deflated with a big play.
Well, what's interesting is you mentioned, the district game, Nease also lost their game, as we've mentioned, to Buchholz, to Coy Falls, to Bartram, but then you've got Nease playing Bartram in a couple of weeks. So this district's going to have some interesting games coming up here. I don't think people expected to see this, but it's going to make the end of the season a little bit interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, this is the gauntlet for us coming up here with Beachside, Menendez, Buchholz, Nease, and Oakleaf. I don't know if there's a tougher schedule around here to finish out the season. So we would love to be able to get Lucas Whitworth back as well to finish the season. That we will figure out in the next week or so of the progress of the healing of the wrist. So that could be a bonus for us coming down the stretch, but we want to make sure that he's completely healthy as well. But, coming back to being creative, we're going to have to be creative to compete against these teams. But the boys know that they're going to have to give everything they got at practice to make sure that they're doing their job to be able to compete with these teams down the stretch.
And this team reminds me, the mentality of it reminds me very much of Ponte Vedra last year, where Ponte Vedra lost to Nease, but then they routed off some wins. Then they had a loss to Fleming Island. They they just took it week by week. And it seems like this team is kind of doing that this year, and they're taking it week by week, which they're going to have a tough game against Beachside for the Surf and Turf Bowl over at the Reef. And that game, I think Coach Kevin Dolan's going to have this team ready to go. And I think, like I said, it's just business as usual for this week. They're going to put behind them, and we're going to see a great game on Friday.
Yeah, he'll have a game plan. I'm looking forward to seeing it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But there's no way these kids on both teams are not going to be pumped for this game. These schools are too close together. Turquoise just a year older. They're in infancy of a high schools, but they've got large numbers of students there. But this is the Surf and Turf, and it's going to be a wild place over there in Beachside. So we're going to bring our crew. They'll have their crew, and we'll get down on it.
And all I'm going to say is it's probably going to be so packed over there. If anyone, take a little bit of extra patience, because after the game, it's going to be a while for you to get out of the parking lot. It seems like in all of St. Johns County too, though. But I think it's going to be a great game. Billy, glad to have you back. Glad you and the family had a great trip to Cincinnati on your bye week, and we look forward to talking to you next week and see how the Toros faced against the Barracudas.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Todd, and we'll talk to you next week.
To recap your scores for this past week, Nease drops their district opener to Buchholz 27-7. The Panthers' only touchdown came on a 71-yard scamper by Enrique Ordonez. St. Augustine moves to 6-0 on the season with a dominant win over Columbia 41-21. Brenton James had another great game under center, going 20 for 27, totaling 268 in the air, with Samarian Wingo accounting for 150 of those yards. Darrell Preston averaged 13 yards a carry off 8 carries, totaling 104 yards on the ground. And the defense looked strong with a total of 5 sacks and an interception. Ponte Vedra got their win over Fleming Island, 35-9. Bartram Trail took care of business against Turquoise Creek, 56-21 in that district game. And Creekside won 49-18 in their district opener against Sandalwood. The schedule this week looks like this. St. Augustine, Nease, Ponte Vedra, and Bartram Trail are all quiet this week as they rest up on their bye week. Decoy and Beachside clash in the famous Surf and Turf Bowl over at Beachside with kickoff at 7, and Creekside will host Fleming Island, kicking off at 7 as well. Don't forget to sign up for Creeks Flag Football. For Cuda Mike, Jocelyn James, Super Mario, Mike the Knight, Billy the Bull, Rob, and Abigail, I'm the Todd, and thank you for listening to the 32081.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.